The silence before the storm. The first strikes came like whispers in the night. Alien fleets, confident and arrogant, slipped into human space. Their commanders believed the campaign would be quick and glorious. To them, humanity was a loud, but fragile species, untested against the weight of ancient empires. The first world to fall was Holstrom, a distant colony far from Earth. Its skies burned as alien warships descended, raining fire on cities, farms, and outposts. The defenders stood little chance. The colony's defense fleet was small, and its ground soldiers were outnumbered. But the humans did not run. They fought with everything they had. Old ships, outdated weapons, even farming tools turned into weapons. Families joined the soldiers. Children carried messages through smoke-filled streets. Pilots rammed their crippled fighters into alien cruisers, preferring death to surrender. In the end, Holstrom fell. Survivors were chained and paraded before alien cameras, trophies for the coalition that wanted to prove humanity's weakness. Messages were sent to the Galactic Council, boasting of victory. "The human frontier is ours," the invaders declared. "They are too weak to resist." The council chamber filled with applause. Delegates laughed, mocking the human warnings they had heard before. Some said the humans had finally been put in their place. To them, it was the natural order of things, strong empires ruling over weaker ones. But not everyone laughed. In the shadows of the chamber, a few silent delegates exchanged uneasy looks. They had seen the reports. They had studied the details. Despite overwhelming odds, the humans of Holstrom had resisted longer than expected. Even when defeat was certain, they fought until their weapons were shattered and their homes lay in ruins. They refused to surrender. That kind of defiance was rare. It was dangerous. Still, the galaxy ignored those warnings. The coalition pressed deeper into human space. More colonies were attacked. More cities burned. Each time, humans fought with the same desperate fury. On one world, a group of miners collapsed tunnels on top of alien soldiers, trapping them underground. On another, settlers poisoned their own supplies so nothing useful could be taken. Even in defeat, humans left scars. The coalition called it foolishness. They mocked humanity's stubbornness, calling it a waste of life. But whispers began to move among the lower ranks of alien soldiers. They spoke in quiet voices, saying humans were not like others. They fought even when they could not win. They refused to break. Back on Earth, there was no loud response, no threats, no begging, no cries for peace. Humanity's homeworld was silent. The fleets stopped moving. The colonies pulled back, fortifying themselves instead of striking. It seemed to the galaxy that Earth was paralyzed by fear. To the arrogant empires, silence meant weakness. They told themselves humanity had finally accepted its fate, but others began to worry. Silence, true silence, can be more frightening than screams. In the Galactic Council, the human delegate returned once more. His face was cold, his words sharper than before. "You let this happen," he said. "You ignored the warning. You think we are weak, but soon you will see the truth." The chamber erupted in laughter again. One alien lord sneered and shouted, "The truth is already clear. Humanity is nothing." The human looked at him, his eyes calm, almost emotionless. He said nothing more. He simply turned and left the chamber. The silence he left behind was heavier than any speech. Even those who mocked him felt unsettled. Meanwhile, Earth worked quietly. Shipyards hidden in shadow built new vessels. Scientists tested weapons that no one in the galaxy had ever seen. Colonies dug deeper defenses and created traps in the dark corners of space. But no announcements were made. No threats were sent. The humans simply prepared. On the colony of Lorien, when the alien fleet arrived, they found the cities empty. Evacuation had been perfect, as if the settlers had known the exact hour of attack. What they left behind were mines hidden in orbit, ambush ships cloaked in the dark, and traps waiting for the invaders. Many alien vessels never returned. Rumors spread fast. Soldiers whispered that the humans were planning something. Commanders dismissed it as nonsense, insisting humanity was too young and too weak to be dangerous. Yet the doubts grew stronger with every strange report. The silence of Earth spread across the stars like a shadow. Trade routes grew quiet. Human ambassadors stopped speaking in the council. Messages from colonies became rare. It was as if humanity had stepped back into the darkness, watching, waiting. The coalition leaders celebrated their victories, blind to the truth. They believed they were breaking humanity, teaching them to bow before the great empires of the galaxy. But in their arrogance, they failed to see the pattern forming. Humanity was not panicking. Humanity was not surrendering. Humanity was waiting, the silence before the storm had begun. Shadows in the dark, the raids continued. Colony after colony was struck, each invasion carried out with arrogance and certainty. Alien fleets moved with pride, their commanders promising their people that humanity would soon be nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. Yet something began to shift. The reports coming back from the front were not what the coalition expected. Yes, colonies were falling. Yes, human ships were being destroyed. But every battle seemed to cost more than it should. Commanders complained of ambushes hidden in asteroid belts, of minefields scattered through trade routes, of strange weapons that seemed too advanced for such a young species. Still, the galaxy celebrated. In the council chambers, delegates dismissed the odd details. They waved them away as excuses from careless generals. They told themselves that the humans were merely prolonging the inevitable. Yet in quiet corners, whispers began to spread. On the colony of Vera, alien forces swept in expecting quick conquest. But the humans there had prepared. Entire cities were abandoned in silence, their streets lined with explosives hidden beneath the ground. When alien troops marched through, the streets themselves erupted, swallowing soldiers and machines in fire. Survivors spoke in trembling voices of humans who fought like shadows, vanishing only to strike again when least expected. Commanders grew frustrated. They had studied other wars. Conquered species begged, surrendered, and fell in line. Humanity was different. They fought even when defeat was certain. They poisoned their own wells, collapsed their own tunnels, destroyed their own homes, anything to deny the enemy a prize. Victory began to taste bitter. Then the disappearances started. At first it was only a few patrols. A squadron of frigates entered human space and never returned. Weeks later, an entire fleet of destroyers was reported missing. No distress signals were sent. No wreckage was found. Only silence remained. The coalition tried to hide the truth, but soldiers talked. Stories spread faster than any order could stop. They whispered of ghost fleets, of human ships that appeared out of nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Some claimed the humans had found ways to bend space, to strike from impossible angles. Others said the humans were cursed, touched by some darkness that no technology could explain. One report, smuggled out by a frightened officer, told of a battle near the Red Star of Kasara. An alien fleet of 20 ships engaged what they thought was a single human freighter. But when they closed in, the freighter exploded, and from the wreckage emerged a swarm of human fighters hidden inside. The battle lasted only minutes. When it ended, nothing remained of the alien fleet. The Galactic Council grew uneasy. Debates turned bitter. Some warned that humanity was dangerous, that their silence meant something more than weakness. Others mocked the idea, insisting humans were merely buying time before their final defeat. But deep down, fear began to take root. The human delegate did not return to the chamber. No messages were sent. No speeches were made. The silence stretched on, heavy and cold. It was as if humanity had vanished from the galaxy's stage. Yet the absence was louder than any threat. Delegates who had once laughed at human warnings now found themselves waking at night, haunted by the memory of those calm words, "Do not provoke us." On the world of Eridan, the coalition declared another victory. Human prisoners were paraded in chains, mocked and beaten before alien cameras, the streets filled with cheering soldiers. But that night, the sky above the colony pulsed with a strange signal. It was brief, just a single human transmission. "Remember this." Hours later, the barracks of the alien army exploded in flames. No one ever discovered how the humans had done it. The message was clear. The coalition continued to press forward, blind in arrogance. They believed humanity was breaking, but the truth was far more dangerous. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was waiting. In secret shipyards hidden across Earth and its colonies, new fleets were rising. Ships larger than anything humans had ever built before. Weapons that bent light and tore through armor like paper. Engines that roared with power no other species had seen. The galaxy saw only silence. But in the darkness, humanity was sharpening its teeth, and soon, the shadows would strike. The Colossus awakens at the edge of human space. A coalition fleet gathered in full strength. 50 warships, armed and armored, moved through the stars with confidence. Their commanders spoke boldly of another easy conquest, another colony that would fall in days. They carried banners of victory, certain that humanity was running out of places to hide. For weeks, the galaxy had been hearing rumors, strange stories of vanishing fleets, of ghost ships, of impossible ambushes. But the coalition laughed at such tales. They believed in numbers. They believed in their ancient empires, their long traditions of war. Against 50 ships, they said, no human force could stand. And then the shadows moved. From behind the dark side of a dead moon, something vast emerged. At first, the alien fleet thought it was an asteroid drifting loose from its orbit. But then blue light flared. Engines roared to life, cutting across the void with thunder. The asteroid shifted, revealing its true form. It was a ship. A warship. But nothing like the galaxy had ever seen. Its hull was black and angular, drinking in the light of the stars. Along its surface ran glowing lines, energy veins pulsing like molten fire. Its engines burned brighter than suns, and its sheer size dwarfed even the largest coalition battleships. For a moment, silence filled every channel. The fleet had never seen such a monster. Then panic erupted. Sensors screamed with warnings. The alien commanders shouted orders, weapons locking on the colossal human ship. Missiles, plasma bolts, and beams of raw energy filled the void. The barrage lit up the darkness, striking against the warship's armor. But nothing happened. The weapons burned like sparks against stone. The ship did not flinch. Its black hull absorbed the fire, and still it advanced, silent and unstoppable. Then humanity answered. A broadside erupted from the giant's flank. Lances of white-hot energy streaked across the void, faster than the eye could follow. Alien shields shattered like glass. Cruisers split cleanly in half, their wreckage scattering into the dark. Within seconds, 10 ships were gone. The fleet tried to retreat, but the Colossus was faster. Its weapons reached across impossible distances, tearing apart ships that thought themselves safe. Every shot was precise, deliberate, merciless. The aliens screamed for reinforcements, for strategy, for salvation, but there was none. In less than 1 hour, the coalition fleet of 50 ships was reduced to twisted wreckage drifting through space. Survivors floated in escape pods, staring in disbelief at the black shape that had destroyed them. The human warship did not pursue. It did not boast. It simply vanished back into the shadows, leaving only silence and fear. The news spread faster than light. The galaxy trembled. Ancient empires that had mocked humanity now whispered of the Colossus, the human war machine that could not be broken. Delegates in the council chamber fell into silence. The laughter that had once filled the hall was gone. For the first time, fear sat among them. But the coalition leaders refused to see the truth. They rallied more fleets, demanding vengeance. Hundreds of ships were gathered, the largest armada the galaxy had seen in centuries. They told themselves that the humans had built only one monster. They told themselves that numbers would win where single fleets had failed. But deep in the hearts of soldiers, unease grew. The stories of the Colossus spread through every barrack, every camp. They whispered that humanity had more of them, hidden in the dark, waiting. Some soldiers began to dream of it. A black shape rising from shadow, glowing veins of fire, weapons like storms. Many woke in fear, their courage broken before battle even began. Still, the orders came. The Grand Armada marched toward human space. Hundreds of ships moving together like a tide. Their leaders promised glory. They promised that this would be the final battle, the end of humanity. But when they entered human space, they found only silence. No fleets, no resistance, only the cold emptiness of the void. And then the trap was sprung. From hidden stations buried in asteroids, from cloaked ships drifting in the dark, From the shadows themselves, human weapons struck. Missiles streaked across space. Energy lances ripped through shields. Entire squadrons vanished in fire before they could even form their lines. Then from the darkness more warships appeared. Not just the Colossus, but others. Smaller, faster, yet no less deadly. They moved with impossible speed, weaving through the battlefield like predators. Their weapons cut through armor as if it were paper. Their strikes were cold, precise, and merciless. The alien armada fell into chaos. Commanders shouted for formations, for strategy, for order, but none could be found. Ships scattered, desperate to survive, but the humans gave them no chance. The void became a storm of fire, every explosion a reminder of arrogance. Within hours, what had been the galaxy's greatest fleet was nothing more than wreckage drifting in silence. Across the stars, empires watched in horror. The humans had revealed their hand, and the truth was worse than anyone had feared. They had not built one Colossus. They had built many, and each one was a promise. The reckoning had begun. The reckoning. The galaxy had never seen silence like this. After the fall of the Great Coalition Armada, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Messages spread faster than light, carrying the same news to every world. Humanity had shattered the invincible fleet. A young species, mocked and dismissed as fragile, had destroyed in weeks what ancient empires had built over centuries. Everywhere, fear took root. On trade worlds, merchants whispered in terror. In military barracks, soldiers shared ghost stories of the Colossus and the fleets that struck from shadows. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, once filled with laughter at human warnings, there was only silence and dread. But humanity did not pause. The silence broke into thunder. Human fleets swept across the stars. They did not rage wildly or destroy without thought. Their movements were cold, calculated, exact. Supply depots were annihilated. Command centers were turned to ash. Entire planets surrendered without a fight, their leaders begging for mercy before a single human ship entered orbit. On Hallstrom, the first colony that had fallen, humanity returned. Survivors wept as human soldiers freed them, but the alien occupiers were given no mercy. Every fortress was leveled, every warship in orbit was burned, and on the ruins of their cities the message was written, "You were warned." The galaxy trembled. On Terran Prime, the capital of a coalition empire, alien leaders sent desperate signals. They promised to withdraw from human space, to pay reparations, to undo their crimes. They begged for negotiations, for a chance at peace. But the humans did not reply. Their silence was worse than words. Then the sky above Terran Prime turned black. Human warships appeared, blotting out the stars. Bombardment began within hours. Towers that had stood for 10,000 years crumbled into dust. Fortresses exploded into fire. The mighty fleets in orbit were erased in minutes. Streets filled with screams, but no rescue came. In only 3 days, the Empire was gone, erased from the galaxy as if it had never existed. And still, the humans advanced. Coalition worlds fell one by one. Strongholds collapsed. Fortresses turned to ruins. Armies that had once believed themselves unstoppable now fled in terror, abandoning their own territories, leaving their people to face the storm alone. Some begged for mercy. Others offered tribute, even fleets, hoping to survive. But humanity had not forgotten. In the Galactic Council, desperation grew. The same chamber that had once mocked humanity now shook with fear. Delegates shouted over each other, demanding that someone stop the humans. Some begged to open peace talks. Others whispered that it was already too late, that humanity would never forgive. And then, at last, a human delegate returned to the council chamber. He stood in silence for a long moment. The same calm figure, the same quiet eyes, the same voice that had once been dismissed as foolish. But now no one laughed. No one mocked him. They sat frozen, trembling, waiting for words they no longer dared ignore. Finally he spoke. His voice was steady, calm, heavy with the weight of judgment. "We warned you," he said. "We asked for peace. You gave us war. You thought us weak. You thought us small. Now you see the truth. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. No one answered. No one dared. The delegate turned and walked away, leaving silence behind him. But it was not the silence of weakness this time. It was the silence of fear, the silence of an entire galaxy brought to its knees. In the weeks that followed, the reckoning spread. Empires that had once stood for millennia were broken. Civilizations that had called themselves mighty now begged for survival. Humanity advanced like a force of nature, patient, merciless, unstoppable. On distant worlds, children grew up with new stories, not stories of alien empires or galactic pride, but stories whispered of the humans who came from a small blue planet and brought the stars to heal. They were told of the silence that came before the storm, of the reckoning that followed, of the words that echoed through the galaxy. Do not provoke us. At last, when the flames cooled and the stars grew quiet again, humanity stepped back into silence. They did not boast. They did not demand thrones or crowns. They simply watched. And every species in the galaxy understood the meaning of that silence. It meant humanity was waiting, and if provoked again, the storm would return. The galaxy would never forget. The galaxy had always believed that humans were weak. They were seen as small, short-lived creatures from a quiet blue planet, too fragile to fight among the stars. Many alien empires laughed at the idea of Earth becoming a power. They saw humans as prey, nothing more. But they were wrong. It began with a meeting in orbit of the red giant star Vera. Alien fleets gathered, filling the darkness of space with thousands of glowing ships. Their commanders spoke with pride, their voices carrying across the comms. They had come together for one reason: to erase humanity from existence. At the center of this gathering stood a single human battleship. Its black hull was cracked with burning orange lines as if fire ran inside the metal. Compared to the endless alien fleets, it seemed small, almost unimportant. Yet inside stood Commander Elias Kane, the man the galaxy would soon remember. The alien leaders projected their images into his command room. Tall, scaled creatures with golden eyes, insect-like beings with sharp mandibles, and reptilian generals with armored hides, all of them sneering at the human. They spoke with one voice. You should have stayed on your little world, human. You have no place in the stars. Your kind is weak, your colonies are few, and your ships are toys. Now we come to finish what you dared to begin. The bridge of the human ship was silent. Officers glanced at their commander, waiting for his reply. Elias stood tall, his face calm, his hands behind his back. He did not shout. He did not beg. His words came soft, but they cut through the silence like steel. You wanted war? Then see your worlds reduced to cinders. The aliens laughed, their voices echoing through the chamber. One of the scaled generals leaned closer to the holo display. Do you think your tiny fleets can stand against our empires? Do you believe your fragile species can fight us all? Elias did not blink. I believe you have already lost. You just do not see it yet. The aliens scoffed and cut their transmissions, their fleets moving into position. Thousands of warships aligned, their weapons glowing with energy. They prepared to fire upon the lone human vessel, certain that one strike would shatter it into dust. But inside the human ship, no one trembled. The crew sat in silence, trusting their commander. They knew something the galaxy did not. Humanity was not as weak as the aliens believed. Humanity had been preparing, watching, building in the shadows of forgotten systems. Elias walked slowly across the bridge, his boots echoing on the steel floor. His voice was steady as he gave his next order. Hold your fire. Let them think we are afraid. Let them think they are in control. Outside, the alien fleets grew closer, their weapons charged, casting light across the frozen moons below. Whole armadas stretched across space, covering the stars like a curtain. To any who watched, it looked like the end of Earth was near. Yet Elias Kane showed no fear. His eyes were fixed on the enemy, his face as cold as the void. They think we are fragile, he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. They think our fire burns small. Tonight they will learn what human fire truly means. A young officer leaned closer, her voice tense. Commander, when do we reveal the fleet? Elias gave her the faintest smile. Not yet. Let them take one more step. The aliens fired their first warning shot. A blast of plasma ripped past the human ship, shaking its shields. Another shot followed, brighter and closer. Then came a third, a beam strong enough to melt a city. The shields groaned but held. The alien generals laughed, believing the human ship was seconds from breaking. Across their channels, they shouted insults, calling humans insects, worms, nothing but dust waiting to scatter. Elias finally gave his order. His voice was calm, almost quiet, but it carried to every corner of the ship. Signal the hidden fleet. Let the galaxy see that humanity is no longer alone. From the darkness beyond the red star, shadows began to move. One by one, massive warships emerged from hiding, their engines igniting with blue flame. They came not in dozens, but in hundreds, then thousands. Ships larger than anything the aliens had seen before spread across the void, their black hulls glowing with lines of burning orange. The alien laughter stopped. Silence fell across the comms. The human fleet had arrived. Elias stood in the center of the bridge, his voice steady as he gave the next command. Transmit to all enemy ships. Tell them this is their one warning. Humanity did not ask for this war, but we will end it. If they continue forward, their worlds will burn. The message was sent. Across the alien fleets, confusion spread. Some commanders barked orders to attack. Others hesitated, staring at the countless human warships now surrounding them. Elias raised his hand, pointing toward the enemy. His voice was calm, cold, final. They wanted war. Now they shall have it. And with those words, the darkness of space shifted. Humanity's fire was about to be unleashed. The silence in space after Elias Kane's warning was heavy. Alien commanders, who had moments earlier been laughing, now stared at the sudden appearance of humanity's hidden fleet. What they had thought to be a single fragile battleship was now revealed as the tip of something much larger, something dangerous. The alien generals barked at one another over the comms. "Tricks," one shouted. "Holograms," another sneered. They tried to convince themselves that what they saw was not real, but their crews could not look away from the countless warships now emerging from behind the star, one after another, engines burning bright. Elias Kane watched them from his command bridge. He knew fear when he saw it. Even through alien eyes, he recognized the same look that humans once carried when predators circled them long ago. Now humanity had become the predator. "Commander," said Lieutenant Rourke, his voice steady but filled with awe. "They do not understand what they are facing." "They will," Elias replied. His gaze never left the display. "And they will regret their arrogance." The alien fleet still believed in their numbers. They had centuries of dominance, and no species had ever dared defy them. With a roar of engines, their ships moved into attack formation. Their weapons lit up like stars preparing to explode. Elias gave no command to fire. Instead, he turned to his crew. "Begin the sequence. Show them what humanity has built in the shadows." The order was given. Across the human fleet, hidden systems awoke. Panels glowed with strange energy. Weapons never seen before in the galaxy powered up, humming with deep vibration. These were not simple plasma cannons or laser batteries. They were weapons forged in desperation, crafted after decades of fear, after countless colonies had been burned by alien hands. The aliens fired first. Great beams of energy rushed across the void, striking the human ships. Explosions lit the darkness, but the human shields did not fall. Instead, they bent the energy, redirecting it outward. Alien crews shouted in confusion as their own fire scattered harmlessly, dancing like light against an unbreakable wall. "Impossible," one alien general hissed. "No shield can bend plasma fire." But humanity's shields were not made like theirs. Engineers on Earth had studied every weakness for years, designing defenses the galaxy had never imagined. Then came the counterstrike. Elias gave a single nod. "Fire the Helios." At once, one of the human warships released its hidden weapon. From its bow erupted a beam of pure white light, silent and blinding. It struck an alien cruiser head-on. For a second, there was no sound, only brightness. Then the ship was gone. Not broken, not shattered, but erased, turned into dust that scattered across the void. Alien crews gasped. General screamed orders, but it was too late. One by one, more human ships fired. Blinding white beams cut through enemy vessels like blades through paper. Battleships that had ruled sectors for centuries were destroyed in seconds. Entire squadrons vanished, their wreckage glowing faintly before fading into ash. Elias spoke quietly, his voice calm. "We warned them. Now they see." Some alien fleets tried to retreat, engines flaring in panic. But humanity's ships moved faster, cutting off escape routes with precision. Small human fighters, agile and deadly, swarmed through the battlefield, striking from angles the aliens had never expected. The galaxy had always thought humans were slow learners, fragile and chaotic. Yet here in this battle they showed something else: adaptability. Every tactic the aliens tried, humans answered with something sharper, faster, stronger. It was as if humanity had studied them all along, waiting for the moment to strike. On the alien flagship, chaos reigned. "How do they have this power?" one commander screamed. They were weak, nothing but a backwater species. A voice from his crew whispered the truth. Perhaps they were weak once, but weakness teaches survival. Back on the human bridge, Lieutenant Rourke leaned closer to his commander. "Sir, the enemy lines are breaking. Their fleets cannot withstand us." Elias's face remained hard. "Do not let victory blind you. They will try something desperate. They always do." And he was right. The alien empires, humiliated, called upon weapons of their own. From deep within their fleets, massive dreadnoughts emerged, each one larger than a city. Their hulls glowed with red energy, pulsing like hearts ready to explode. These were weapons of last resort. Ships that could crush moons, engines that could tear apart entire systems. The galaxy had used them only once before, in wars that destroyed whole civilizations. Now they were turned against humanity. The battlefield shook as the alien dreadnoughts charged their cannons. Planets trembled beneath the force. Stars flickered as energy built. For the first time, even some of the human crew felt fear. The power facing them was enough to destroy entire worlds. Elias Kane stood unmoved. His voice cut through the tension. "They think they hold the greatest fire. They are wrong." He raised his hand. "Activate the hidden power. Bring out the nemesis." From the black of space, a shadow rose. It was not just a ship. It was something larger, something beyond the scale of any fleet. Its hull stretched for miles, its surface burning with orange fire like cracks across a volcano. It dwarfed the alien dreadnoughts, its engines roaring with the sound of thunder. The crew of the alien fleets fell silent as the nemesis appeared. Fear spread through them like fire through dry grass. For the first time they understood the truth. Humanity had not only prepared for war, humanity had prepared to dominate it. Elias Kane looked at the giant vessel with a calm nod. "Let the galaxy know. Humanity has risen." The nemesis turned its cannons toward the alien dreadnoughts. The battle for survival was about to become the battle for supremacy. The nemesis drifted into view like a moving mountain of steel and fire. Its hull glowed with deep orange cracks as though a star itself had been trapped inside. Every alien ship turned their sensors toward it, and what they read only filled them with dread. The vessel was larger than their greatest dreadnoughts, armed with weapons they did not understand and shielded by energy fields that bent the very fabric of space. On the human bridge, silence held. Even the crew who had served under Elias Kane for years stared at the nemesis with awe. It was humanity's darkest secret, built in silence, hidden in forgotten sectors where no alien spies could see. It was not only a ship, it was a message. The aliens fired first. Red energy beams from their dreadnoughts struck the nemesis. Each one could have destroyed a city. The impacts lit up the void. But when the fire faded, the nemesis still stood unbroken. Its shields burned bright, twisting the enemy's power away as though brushing dust from its armor. Alien commanders shouted across their channels. "Impossible. Nothing can withstand that fire." Elias Kane's voice came soft but steady. "Show them why humanity cannot be broken," the nemesis answered. From its bow, a massive cannon glowed brighter and brighter, until it was like staring into the heart of a sun. Then it fired. The beam was silent, a white spear of light that cut through the dark. It struck an alien dreadnought head-on. In an instant, the ship did not explode. It vanished, erased, its mass torn apart at the smallest level. One of the galaxy's greatest war machines was gone in a single shot. Panic spread across alien fleets. Crews shouted, commanders screamed orders, formations broke apart. Yet the nemesis did not stop. Another beam fired and another dreadnought was gone. Then the smaller human warships followed, unleashing their own white lances of destruction. The battlefield became a storm of fire. Alien ships crumbled one by one. Squadrons were erased, cruisers burned, carriers split apart. The void filled with the dying light of shattered fleets. On the alien flagship, A reptilian general slammed his claws against the console. This cannot be. They are only humans. His crew's eyes filled with terror. They are monsters, one whispered. But Elias Kane remained cold. On his bridge, his crew watched as enemy ships vanished into fire. Lieutenant Rourke looked at his commander. Sir, they are breaking. Entire fleets are retreating. Elias shook his head. Not yet. They think retreat will save them. They must learn that no escape remains. He raised his hand and the Nemesis changed its attack. Massive side cannons rotated and fired volleys of burning orange plasma. Not at ships, but at worlds. One alien colony world in the distance glowed bright, then burned as its atmosphere ignited. Flames spread across its surface, consuming cities until nothing but ash remained. Across the galaxy, messages spread like wildfire. The humans are burning planets. The humans are wiping out entire systems. Fear replaced arrogance. No longer did the aliens see humans as weak. They saw them as fire itself, devouring everything in its path. Some alien leaders begged for mercy, sending transmissions across the battlefield. Human commander, stop this. We can talk. We will give tribute. Spare our worlds. Elias's reply came cold and sharp. You wanted war. Now you will taste it. And the fire continued. Human fighters swarmed through enemy lines, cutting down escape ships. Human bombers rained destruction upon fortresses that had stood for centuries. One by one, the symbols of alien power, worlds, stations, fleets, were reduced to glowing cinders. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Elias stood without emotion. His officers carried out his orders, and not one questioned him. They knew why they were fighting. Humanity had been mocked, enslaved, and slaughtered by these empires for generations. Now the galaxy was learning a final truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm. As the battle raged, an alien coalition leader made a last attempt. He broadcast his image across every channel, his scaled face filled with rage and fear. Humans, you cannot destroy us all. The galaxy will unite against you. Even if you burn our worlds, more will rise. You will drown in our numbers. Elias stared at the screen. His answer was short. Then bring your numbers. We will turn them into ash. The transmission cut. The Nemesis unleashed another beam, destroying the alien leader's ship before he could speak again. The battle dragged on for hours, but it was no longer a battle. It was a slaughter. Alien ships tried to scatter, but wherever they fled, human ships were waiting. The sky became a graveyard of glowing wreckage, drifting bodies, and shattered dreams. When the last alien dreadnought fell, the void grew quiet again. The stars burned softly, watching in silence as empires died. Humanity had won not only a battle, but something greater: fear. Every surviving alien crew that escaped would carry one message to their people. Humanity is wrath. Humanity is fire. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Elias Kane finally lowered his hand. Enough, pull the fleet back. His crew looked at him, confused. Commander, we could wipe them all out. Why stop now? Elias's eyes were cold, but his words were careful, because terror is stronger than destruction. Let them live with the memory of this night. Let them wake in fear of the fire they cannot escape. And so, as the broken alien fleet scattered into the dark, humanity stood victorious. But this was only the beginning. The galaxy had declared war. Humanity had answered, and the wrath of mankind had just been unleashed. News of the battle spread faster than light. Survivors who had escaped the massacre limped back to their empires, their ships broken, their crews terrified. They carried the same story across the galaxy. Humanity had unleashed fire that no fleet could withstand, a weapon that could erase worlds, and a ship so massive it dwarfed every dreadnought ever built. At first, many rulers did not believe it. They thought the survivors were cowards, inventing tales to excuse their defeat. But when transmission after transmission showed the same truth, footage of the Nemesis erasing dreadnoughts in a single beam, planets burning in orange fire, the laughter died. The galaxy trembled. On the throne world of the Serac Dominion, a council of lords shouted in panic. We must gather every ship, one cried. We must strike back at once. But another older lord shook his head. You did not see their eyes. The humans have no fear. You cannot fight a species that fights as though death itself is their weapon. Insectoid queens in their crystal hives argued, their wings trembling with fear. Reptilian warlords beat their tails in rage but did not send their fleets. Entire empires that once enslaved humans now fell into silence. Too afraid to provoke the fire again, Elias Kane knew this fear would spread, and he planned to use it. From the bridge of the Nemesis, he issued a simple order: strike their centers, leave nothing but ruins where their empires once stood. And so the campaign began. Human fleets did not simply defend Earth. They moved outward, pushing deeper into alien space. World after world fell. Fortresses that had ruled sectors for centuries crumbled in hours. Moons were stripped bare. Shipyards were burned. No corner of the galaxy was beyond reach. Human soldiers landed on alien worlds. They marched through once proud cities, their banners of flame raised high. Resistance was crushed swiftly, not with mercy but with precision. Entire populations knelt before the fire, their leaders dragged from palaces and shown the cost of defying Earth. But Elias was not a mindless conqueror. He knew the value of fear. In many places he spared those who surrendered, leaving them alive to whisper stories of humanity's wrath. He wanted the galaxy to remember not only the destruction, but the shadow of what could come again if anyone dared challenge them. Among the aliens, whispers began. Humanity was not fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for dominance. One alien broadcast begged for unity. If we do not unite now, they will erase us all. But unity never came. Old rivalries, mistrust, and the terror of facing humanity split the empires apart. Instead of standing together, they turned on each other, hoping to buy time or distract humanity's gaze. Elias Kane watched all of this unfold with cold eyes. They are breaking themselves, he said quietly. We need only push. Yet Elias knew victory came with a heavy price. Each world burned, each empire broken, pulled humanity deeper into a war that would never truly end. Lieutenant Rourke once asked him quietly, "Sir, how far will we go? How many must fall before we stop?" Elias's answer was cold. "Until they never dare raise a hand against us again. Only then will humanity be safe." The campaign rolled on. The Serac Dominion surrendered after their last fleets were erased. The insectoid queens bent their knees when their hives cracked and fell. The reptilian warlords, who had once mocked humans as fragile, were chained in front of their own shattered thrones. The galaxy that once held 100 proud empires now burned with silence. Humanity's rise was not just a victory, it was the fall of everything that had come before. In the halls of the Nemesis, Elias Kane stood before the star map. Dozens of empires marked in red had already fallen, yet more remained. His officers waited for his next command. He placed his hand on the map, his voice low and steady. The galaxy will remember this age as the end of their rule. From the ashes of their empires, humanity will stand alone. And somewhere across the stars, the last surviving alien leaders whispered to one another in fear. The humans are not stopping. They will burn us all. The fall of empires had begun and no one could stop it. The galaxy had changed. Where once alien empires had ruled with arrogance and cruelty, now their worlds lay in ruins. Skies that once shone with their banners now glowed with smoke and ash. The silence of defeat echoed across the stars, and at the center of it all stood humanity. No longer the prey, no longer the weak, but the fire that could not be stopped. The Nemesis moved slowly through the wreckage of another fallen fleet. Burned ships drifted like corpses across the void, their broken hulls shining faintly against the distant stars. On its bridge, Commander Elias Kane stood in silence, his hands behind his back, his face unreadable. Around him, his officers waited. None dared to speak until he did. Reports poured in from every corner of the galaxy. The Serac Dominion had surrendered completely. The insectoid queens had abandoned their crystal hives, now buried under flame. The reptilian warlords had been crushed, their chains dragged through their own ruined palaces. Piece by piece, the galaxy was bending. But Elias knew something important. Fear could fade. Fear could turn to anger, anger to rebellion, unless humanity gave the galaxy one final lesson, one that no species would ever forget. "Prepare the transmission," he said at last. His voice was calm, but in it was the weight of everything humanity had endured. A comms officer turned in her chair. "To whom shall we send it, Commander? To the surviving fleets? To the throne still standing?" Elias's answer was cold. "To all of them. Every empire. Every ship. Every world. Let the stars themselves carry our words." The order was given, Across the galaxy, as if the void itself had opened its ears, Elias Kane's image appeared on screens, in war rooms, in palaces, in homes. Billions of eyes, alien eyes of every shape and color, watched as the human commander stood against a backdrop of fire. He did not raise his voice. He did not roar or rage. He spoke as though he were stating a simple truth, and that made his words cut deeper. Humanity did not start this war, Elias began. You came to our worlds. You called us weak. You called us fragile. You sought to erase us. You wanted war. He leaned forward slightly, his face lit by the faint glow of burning wreckage beyond the window. Now you see what war with humanity truly means. Your fleets are ash. Your empires are cinders. Your proudest worlds burn in silence. You thought you could break us, but instead you awakened a fire you could not contain. His voice grew colder. This is your only warning. If you raise your hand against Earth again, if you ever think to enslave or destroy our kind, know this. Your species will end. Your suns will dim. Your names will vanish from history. For humanity does not forgive, and humanity does not forget. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Alien rulers who had once shouted with pride now sat pale and trembling. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Civilians clutched their families, whispering in fear. Elias's eyes narrowed, his final words striking like a blade. We are humanity. We are the fire. You wanted war. We will end it. The transmission cut. For a long moment, the galaxy held its breath. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of humanity's words hung heavy, pressing against every heart across the stars. Back on the Nemesis, Elias stood quietly. His officers looked at him, uncertain. Lieutenant Rourke finally spoke. Sir, was it enough? Will they dare again? Elias did not answer immediately. He stared out at the wreckage beyond the glass, the drifting bones of fleets that had once ruled the galaxy. At last, he said, they will remember. That is enough. The Nemesis turned slowly, its massive engines burning with silent power. Around it, the human fleet formed once more, black hulls glowing with fire. Together, they moved through the void, not as prey, not even as equals, but as rulers of a new age. And across the galaxy, whispers spread. The age of alien empires was over. The age of humanity had begun.